like to call the Building and Grounds meeting to order. It is 6:30, and it is the 13th of November. Jeff, could you take roll call, please?
Mrs. Berger, Mrs. Boyer, Mr. Clausby,
Here.
Mr. Galzella, Mr. Mummert. Here. Mr. Plessick,
Here.
Mrs. Weaver,
Here.
Hingst,
Here.
Mr. Zimmerman. 5 present, 4 absent.
All right, there's seeing no one present.
Perfect timing.
We're going to move on
6
to number 5, Southwest High School renovation.
So I'll start as I typically do with a schedule update. I feel at this point the crews are moving along very well. Manpower is ramped up as they've had more areas to work on. The music addition, the slab is poured. The firewall between the addition and the existing building is up to height, which is roughly 24 feet. They're working on the first bearing wall. It's pretty much topped out, and they're working their way across the slab back out toward the road. So that's progressing nicely. They've been throwing 8 to 10 masons on that on a daily basis. With these cold mornings, they've had to delay their starts a little bit to wait till the temperature rises and the sun's coming up and the temperatures are coming up. But that's pretty typical for construction this time of the year. Athletic additions, very similar. The slab's poured, the firewall's up to the first level, and they're working hard to get bearing up so they can set steel in the very near future. You know, once again, we want to get steel set and decks on so it protects the insides and it keeps progress moving inside regardless of what the weather does. So the athletic addition is taking good shape. The tech addition is sizably larger than the other two. We're still working on underground utilities, trenching in, backfilling, running conduits for electric, running water. Most of the water and the drain lines are in. It's pretty much electric at this point that they're still working on. And they're making preparations to relocate the existing gas line that runs in the back of the building through that addition. It ended up being right underneath, I think I shared with the board previously, that it's right underneath a bearing wall, bearing footer. So it really kind of holds up in that one spot. So they're making all the arrangements to move that over the Thanksgiving break. Gives them a little bit of leeway while the students are not in the building to turn the gas off and relocate that line. It'll be relocated to where the new gas enters the building, but there at the wall of the addition, it'll turn into just a temporary line for now to temporarily feed the utility room because, of course, we need the existing boilers, the existing hot water to continue functioning the way it's functioned until that mechanical room gets built and all those appliances are replaced. So the shutdown that we anticipate next week is really more about establishing a new temporary service and not the permanent hard, fast service that we're going to have for the rest of the. Yeah, we need to get the boilers and stuff back up. It's that time of year we need to heat. So we have a domestic hot water loop. That's our hot water for washing hands and cooking, et cetera. And there's separate boilers that are our heat loop that provides hot water to all the classrooms and spaces to keep them heated. So they're doing all the prep work on Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, when there's no students here, they've arranged with Columbia Gas to come in and actually make the fusion, the splice into the existing gas line and set up this new temporary service into the building. And all goes well. Wednesday afternoon, we're back up again. Heaven forbid it doesn't. It gives us a little bit of leeway with the holidays to drop back and punt if we have to. But there's really no reason we should have to. And then on the interior corridors, the mechanical contractor has really been kind of pulling out his hair. He's starting to look like me, I think, probably trying to figure out how to get additional piping, additional conduits, additional services in those corridor ceilings. If anybody has the opportunity to walk the high school and look up at the ceilings that we've opened up, it's really kind of amazing how much stuff's already up there. And then to think we have to add that much new stuff up there in addition to it before we can pull the old stuff out, you can kind of understand what type of maze and what they're really fighting to get that all worked in. But they have started they started second shift this week, hanging 20-foot lengths of pipe down those corridors, trying to get that new circ lines in. So that pretty much brings me up to where we're at with the high school renovation.
The second shift, that is when the students are not in the building?
Correct. They're showing up about 3:30 till the crew gets inside and starts working. Students are out to the buses and going. They understand there's quite a lot of after-school activities that they have to work around, so we're providing barricades and trying to put out the word and make sure everybody's aware of what's going on. I've really kind of drummed into them, use our movable barricades to cordon off certain corridors, avoid students, staff, whoever from walking through, because again, it's a 20-foot piece of steel pipe. Some of it's 8 inches and 10 inches in diameter, so it's hundreds of pounds a piece. So we've been kind of riding that one pretty hard. So I think everybody's on board with what has to happen there.
The area which they're working, is it here in the auditorium area where?
So
they-
it does
like
interact with the
practices?
auditorium, the 400 hall. So we've been talking with Dwayne and how we coordinate that until the end of the week. So they're planning on working 410s.
Okay,
So till the play really kicks in at the end of the week, they should be pulled out of that area.
okay,
But we're
Okay,
really
good.
kind of started them down at that auditorium tonight and asked them to work away from the auditorium, so to later in the week, they're working away from the auditorium rather than towards the auditorium.
okay, very good.
Yeah. Payment apps, we've got 3 payment apps again for this month. You can see, well, you can't see. Low bar GC is $1,247,057. Match line mechanical is $1,589,259. And part of that one is the expenditure of our ESSERS 2 grant. We had ESSERS grant money that was issued to the school district to improve the mechanical systems. It had to be appropriated and used in this year, this calendar year. So this is following through on that. We've instructed Matchline Mechanical to place those orders and get that equipment, that engineering done that fulfills that part of our mechanical upgrade. That's right around $1.5 million. So that's pretty much the bulk of this payment app. But that keeps us in compliance with that $1.5 million of grant money so that we don't risk losing that. The third one is Myco Plumbing, and theirs is $152,910. So those are the 3 apps we'll see you on Wednesday nights for approval. And then while we're talking about pay apps, I just mentioned December, we typically do not have many meetings, but we need to pay our contractors. So typically in the past, we've went ahead and paid those payment apps and came back and asked the board for retroactive approval in our January meeting because we don't typically get the December meetings in for that review and approval process. Okay. Change orders is my next line item. I was really hoping to have formal change orders so I could review those in specificity with the board. Still working out some details. Low bar value engineering change order 2. We're hashing out some of the final details, but as of this afternoon, when I talked with the project manager, it seems as though we're all in agreement. The $183,573 of change order for this value engineering 2. There's always some back and forth, some negotiations, making sure we've got what we expect and what they expect, so everybody's on the same page. Cyprium, our electrical contractor, they have quite a sizable proposal for a change order hanging out there, but with the electrical fixtures, switchgear and stuff, some of it's pretty technical. A lot of it, I'm really relying on our engineer to work with Cyprium, our electrical contractors, to deem what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. That one's really our gray area at this point. I don't have a good hard number for you. And the third change order is actually a change order going the other direction, which I don't really care for, but becomes necessary sometimes. Myco, the plumbing contractor, has proposed a change order to us for $8,331 to relocate some of the existing circulation lines in that corridor that we're trying to work on at this point. We had a pretty big powwow about 2 weeks ago trying to get everybody's involvement as to how we're going to get the new circulation lines through the existing corridor. Specifically, we're talking about right back next to the mechanical room. So we're dealing with 10-inch diameter pipe. So till you get to the outside of that pipe, the pipe itself is probably 11 inches. You put another 2 inches of insulation on either side of that. Pipe's getting huge, and there's 2 of those to run. First default by our contractors is, oh, we'll just have to lower the ceiling and run your new circulation lines. I was like, well, wait a minute. We don't want ceilings where we're all walking through feeling like we're being squashed. I said, majority of this stuff has to come out in the end. I said, I don't really want to, but give me a price to drop the conflict pipe down lower temporarily, run the new piping where the existing's at now, and then when the project's closed out, we can cut out this relocated pipe. So really, it's an $8,000 kind of slippage. But in the overall scope of the project, not to have to put up with an 8'3" ceiling or something in our corridors, I think it's the prudent thing to do. This afternoon was the first I saw the pricing on it. I'm putting it before the board that it's a not to exceed price of $8,331. Typical Nate fashion. I have a couple ideas I want to work on a little bit, see if we can't economize it a little bit, see if we can't lower that number. So I just wanted to put it in front of the board. I think it's a reasonable thing to do. We don't want ceilings down at that 8-foot, couple inch range. It's just too low. Too many high schoolers feel like they got to jump up and touch them and swipe them and punch them out and leave fingerprints. But at this point, I have a standing change order proposal for $8,331. Like I said, I'm going to do what I can to work with that a little bit, see if we can't economize that a little bit. So if the board's all right with that, I'll also have that one on Wednesday evenings for approval.
All right, sounds good. Moving on to number 6.
Number 6, in our fiscal year budgeting plan, replacement equipment, we had replacement of a truck for our grounds department, maintenance department. We've got a truck. I should have brought the paperwork with me. I could look it up. I think it's a 94 Ford. It's getting quite rusty, many holes, lots of issues. We're to the point of it doesn't seem to make sense to be patching it anymore. The price we received, we've looked around a good bit for a new replacement Ford 350 truck set up to plow is $48,616 for the truck with light bars and the appropriate stuff to handle that, the heavier plow package. And then to have a stainless steel V plow installed, which we prefer the V plows now because it works so much better on parking lots and big areas where we're trying to collect snow and move it rather than just roll it off the side. That's a $10,355 price tag. Total rounds off to approximately $59,000. I had $56,000 budgeted in our standing budget at this point. So if the board's all right with that, I'd like to put that on. We looked around a good bit. Our last 2 trucks we got, we ordered. Both of them took over a year to come in. So this time we started out with looking at what's available through state procurement contracts. We looked around, we found a Dodge, and we found this Ford that met our parameters of what we were looking for. The Ford's a couple $100 less. They're pretty close, but the Ford's a couple $100 less. So that's our recommendation.
So were we plowing with the 94 Ford up to this point?
Correct. We have some of the issues. We have salt boxes, salt spreaders we put on the backs that kind of induces some of the
Okay.
problems.
That didn't have a V plow?
Did not have a V plow on, no.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got one V plow in the district at this point. We tried it out on the last truck, and it's worked quite well for us. We'd really like to try to go that route again.
Nate, what's your towing capacity of this 350?
The towing capacity?
Yeah. You know that offhand?
I would think it'd be here in the spec. What year? So it's a 2023, actually, it says. And
13,800 to 23,900.
Thank you.
yeah, I'm just seeing a gross vehicle weight of 11.4, which that's the Bear truck. Pretty much anybody's 350 nowadays will tow more than our biggest trailers in the district. If you're concerned about our van trailers, or equipment trailers.
Thank you.
Are you able to get the plow too?
We,
for this
we actually
season?
get better pricing taking it directly to a plow installer rather than through the dealership. The dealership priced out a good bit more for the plow. So that $10,600 price tag, $10,355 price tag is taking it to the hitch man down at Tawnytown and having them install it directly at their facility.
Okay, so that's something we can get this year then.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
I've
okay.
not been told there's any issue with getting our hands on the plow.
How long will it take you to get this truck?
The truck's on the lot, so it just takes board approval of processing.
How many miles on?
It should be 0. It's a new truck. I don't think it tells me anything otherwise, but it's a brand new truck.
There might be a couple driving around the parking lot. What happened?
Right.
And that 10,355 is the installed price for the plow?
Correct.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So if that suits the board, I'll add that one on Wednesday evening's agenda. And that's pretty much what I wanted to cover this evening.
That's it.
That's it. Unless you really want more.
Does anybody have anything else? I guess under others or?
Are you happy with the bleachers?
I'm happy they're done. I have an invitation out to the owner of the company to come up and walk the bleachers with me, kind of do a final punch list on it. I don't see anything major issues with it. I just want him to walk it with me. We need to discuss our expenses, the time that Nate and the rest of the crew put in crowing around, ensuring they got it done. And we need to make that adjustment to the final price.
Fantastic.
So I have one, the scoreboard that was not working at the last game, is that equipment related or?
So that's the second time we've had an issue with the board not communicating, we suspected. Both times the maintenance crew has gone out and worked and worked and worked and cannot reproduce the scenario again. We've not seen an issue from the maintenance side. When we've gone out to troubleshoot it, it's always worked. We're still looking into it a little bit, but we're concerned, is it the right people attempting to fire it up? Do we need to do more training as far as the linkage and the setup of the controller? I've told Barry, I said, what I think we need to do at this point, first off, is send a letter, something in black and white, to the manufacturer, noting that we're having the suspected issue with it. We've had this problem. We're attempting to troubleshoot it, but we can't reproduce it, so it makes it hard to troubleshoot it and get it on record, so that if it comes back to haunt us after our warranty runs out, at least we have something to document that we've experienced this issue, and it's an ongoing.
Have you, the people who operate it on during game night, go out and do whatever they do to see if that, whatever they're doing causes the issue? I mean, like, I get the maintenance crew is making it work, right? But if the people using it are having the issue, maybe getting them together.
So, yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, I'm kind of short of any other ideas at this
Right.
point, Matt, is I think we maybe need to pull them out, go through maybe another training, another setup, and say, is everybody on the same page? Is there any questions? The thing is now, is we're pretty much have closed out our fall season as far as our field. It'll be a conversation we'll have to have in the spring, I'm sure, as far as going through that. But it's just kind of peculiar that we used it for the first half of the season, and it's you know, it's the athletic department, it's the coaches, it's those people that are involved in it that have set it up and used it for 5 games and there wasn't an issue, and then all of a sudden, seems like the last 2 games, all of a sudden it's coming back to bite them. So we're not quite sure what
That's why I just
changed
wanted to
there.
make sure it wasn't equipment related problem,
it-
you know?
Raining both of those games? Could it have been weather related? I know it was raining the second
was
to
for the
last game
playoff.
because I was sitting in it.
Yeah.
I can't think if that was the last game.
For the
My
playoff
games are off.
game?
William
Mm,
Penn. William Penn?
No, it wasn't the playoff. It was the game before that.
Okay. I sat through one that was raining, but I don't remember if it went
Yeah.
down. So probably not weather related.
Yeah, we've gone back and checked all of our connections multiple times now. We crawled up on the scoreboard itself and checked the connections, just trying to see if there's a loose connector somewhere. We just haven't been able to find it from the maintenance department. So I think to
Probably
what
operator
what you're
error.
referring to is, I think it's the first thing we cross off at this point is, once sports reconvene in the spring, we get everybody together and say, okay, look, this is how we need to set this thing up. This is the order. This is what needs to happen. This goes in this hole and that goes in that slot and go from there.
So you're putting a letter to the manufacturer now?
We're doing a letter to the manufacturer now, just to denote that we've had some issues. So hopefully if it would pop its head back up again in the spring, they don't pull, oh, your 90 days is up or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Well, maybe they could have some suggestions too.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Is that all?
So I have.
All right. I guess, take a motion to adjourn. Second,
Second.
Matt, so, second. And Jay, motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Sort of reposition the room. You don't have to worry about it, though. It's fine.